We begin with this Fox News alert. House Republicans will not give up. They are digging into why America was left with a president, Joe Biden, in severe decline. And now, what we are watching from moments ago, another one of his top aides showing up on Capitol Hill to answer questions. Former special assistant to Joe Biden, Ashley Williams, will sit down for a transcribed interview with the Oversight Committee. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. Earlier this week, Biden's former doctor, Kevin O'Connor, spent his entire interview with that House panel on wash and repeat.
I must respectfully decline to answer based on the physician-patient privilege and reliance on my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution, on my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution, on my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
We won't make you sit through the 14 times that he said that and refused to answer questions. The committee posted this video of the interview with the caption, "What are they hiding?" House Oversight is now coming weeks away from plans to interview former First Lady Jill Biden's senior advisor, Anthony Bernal, and the Biden White House Chief of Staff, Ron Klain. David Spunt is on Capitol Hill. David.
Hi, Harris. Good to be with you. Unlike Dr. O'Connor, the former White House physician, Ashley Williams is not under a subpoena. She came voluntarily and is sitting for what's called here on Capitol Hill a transcribed interview, not a deposition. And sources believe that she will cooperate. They expect this to go for maybe 4 or 5 hours, perhaps. It just depends on how many questions are asked and how many are answered. We have video of her arriving not long ago with members of her team walking into this building. She didn't say anything when I asked if she has any comment or will say anything to the committee, but it's not unexpected, as people typically don't talk to the media before they go into these. We'll see if she says anything when she comes out. She's a former special assistant to President Biden in his White House and the former director for strategic outreach. Notable, though, as I said, she's appearing on her own. We're not sure, though, how long she'll be there, but this is all part, as you mentioned, into the alleged decline and alleged cover-up involving then-President Biden. Now, we saw him, meaning the Dr. Kevin O'Connor, invoke the Fifth Amendment over and over again. But these are just two this week of people from the Biden White House that members want to talk to. Investigators want to hear from these people as well. Former White House Chiefs of Staff Ron Klain, Jeff Zients, former senior advisors Mike Donilon, Steve Ricchetti, Anita Dunn, Bruce Reed, Annie Tomasini. Also notable, former White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre and press aides Andrew Bates and Ian Sams. It's notable that Dr. Jill Biden, the former First Lady, her former top aide Anthony Bernal will be here next Wednesday. But Harris, much like Dr. Kevin O'Connor, he's appearing under subpoena, which means he will sit for a deposition, which certainly is more formal than a transcribed interview. And I will note there are no members here today. They're on recess. So this is a staff-led interview that's transcribed with Ms. Williams.
So we will get to see, I mean, we can't see it because it's behind closed doors, but we will get to hear and read what she says. Good to see you, David Spunt. Thank you. Republican Senator Tim Scott of the great state of South Carolina is with me now. And first of all, talk to me about the importance still of digging into what America lived with for 4 years. Severe decline of a president. We don't even know clearly who was running the country.
Harris, we definitely do not know who's running the country, but more important than even that, perhaps, is why they were covering it up. Why were they willing to defraud millions of voters across the country? It's election engineering. Congressman Comer, thank you for digging into this. Thank you for the investigation. We're talking about a mass cover-up by Democrats and national media working hand in glove for one purpose: to hold on to power. Harris, this was about holding on to power. They were willing to defraud the voters of our nation. They were willing to interfere in this election 2024 just because they were afraid of losing power. That is devastating. And if we ever needed an investigation about the health of a president, it is not simply about who knew when. It was the fact that they all knew he was compromised. They knew it, they hid it because they wanted to hold on to their power. That is just un-American.
You know, it's chilling to hear you talk about it because it really wasn't that long ago. And I know things move fast, but the American people deserve answers on this, because I thought Democrats cared about election interference. In fact, I thought they were quite obsessed with it.
Absolutely. That's the whole point. That's why I wanted to make sure that I've made it crystal clear why this investigation is unlike many other investigations. The Democrats and their hypocrisy leads to this place. The place is the American people must understand what they are willing to do for power. What are they willing to do? Are they willing to manipulate? If they did it in the past, 2024, we can expect more of the same in 2026 and 2028. Their thirst for power clouds their judgment, and they're willing to defraud voters to hold on to it.
Yeah, it's frightening. You know who knew, though, what to do? Voters. They kicked him out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
They always do.
So
Good
now the
instincts.
repay on that, particularly by Republicans, is to get to the bottom of this, to deliver the truth. All right, this situation is not only untenable, not only dangerous,
Yes.
but it's worsening. The violence federal officers are facing right now as they continue just to do their jobs. I mean, more and more and more of these people coming to the scene to go against the immigration enforcement agents. I mean, that scene was from a raid on a California marijuana farm. They turned into rioters attacking the feds, who were forced to use tear gas and smoke bombs to push them back to protect the law officers themselves. Border Czar Tom Homan says there is a stark, clear line.
People are welcome to protest. They have their First Amendment rights, but they can't cross that line. They can't impede us from doing our job. That's a felony. They certainly can't put hands on an agent. That's a felony. So what happened in California is just another example of protesters becoming criminals.
Also in California, masked rioters went after ICE agents outside a San Francisco immigration court. They could be seen shoving agents and jumping onto their SUV. Law enforcement is searching still for one of the 12 suspects in that ambush on ICE facility in Texas. And that suspect faces 3 charges of attempted murder of a federal officer and is considered armed and dangerous at this point still as they go after him. Despite all these attacks, including giving their personal information like their address, doxing them, putting their families in harm's way, Democrats are pushing efforts to force the ICE agents to show their faces, the ones under attack. Senator Alex Padilla introduced a bill that would do just that. Here's his claim. In a democracy, no one should have to guess if they're being handcuffed by real law enforcement or armed imposters. Is he even for real right now? Meanwhile, the Trump administration's immigration crackdown is also being fought in court. A Biden-appointed judge is now weighing whether to limit President Trump's illegal immigration enforcement in the state of California. I go back to you, Senator, just to get your response on this part of it. And we're accustomed to the lawfare against President Trump, but there's actually warfare in the streets with these people attacking the feds.
Well, Harris, let us be clear. This is why the United States of America and the voters within our country elected President Donald Trump. 2 top issues in the 24 election: illegal immigration and our economy. What we're seeing playing out in California is disgusting, it is devastating, and frankly, you cannot have a country without law and order. Gavin Newsom, governor of California, has just left South Carolina. Gavin, stay home in California. Help the federal law enforcement agents stay alive. Let them do their jobs. Instead of doing that, the Democrat Party, let's zoom into this. Gavin Newsom says he's the new leader of the Democrat Party. What do they believe in? They believe in violence. Several House members said, we need blood in the streets.
Yeah.
We have to change this narrative by keeping Republicans in charge.
You know, the Democrats are getting help with their narrative, though. Legacy media.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and it's not
100%.
a stretch of any imagination just to straight up call it gaslighting. They're lying. They essentially are blaming the ICE agents and law enforcement who are doing their jobs. They're blaming them for the violence. by rioters. And in some headlines, ABC News, one second, I want to put what's on the screen. ABC News, federal agents clashing with protesters during ICE raid at California farm. The New York Times framing almost identical wording. The LA Times, immigration action sparks chaotic protest in Ventura County. It's not an action. They're attacking the feds. And there is, in fact, a U.S. law that punishes. You heard Tom Homan say it. Let's get in deeper. There's a law that punishes by fine or even prison anyone targeting our federal agents performing official duties with assaults, resistance, opposition, or intimidation. And the irony of ABC News' headline is heavy, because the outlet's Los Angeles affiliate captured some of the most dramatic violence of the rioters so far. They're not protesting. They're going after the feds. And that was at that California farm. Senator.
100%. I was trying to jump in there, Harris. You got me so excited over here. I'm so frustrated to see what you're talking about. Seeing it with my eyes, hearing it with my ears. Here's what we need to know. When you shoot at law enforcement officers, they shoot back. If you're in the middle of a crowd of a lot of illegal immigrants and you're running away and we have pictures of you pulling out a gun and shooting at the very people who are trying to keep this country safe, you should expect a response. When you use violence, it will be returned with violence. Harris, we've got to find a way to have our law enforcement agents go home to their families. And the way we do that is by having local officials allow their law enforcement agents to combine with federal law enforcement agents to actually adhere to the laws of our country. This is simple, but you're right. Complicit in this situation, national media working hand in hand with Democrats in California and beyond. This is a national crisis. And I want to be very clear here, Harris. If we continue to see this violence against law enforcement officers, do not expect not violence, blood in the streets.
I pray not. And you bring up a point that bears saying here. Thank you to our law enforcement and our ICE agents for their restraint. They are so professional in what they're doing, and they are getting pulled out. The leader of Democrats in the House, Hakeem Jeffries, wants to unmask, to identify the very people who are being targeted, the protectors of Americans. It's a lot. All right, Senator, I have to let you go, but I'm going to bring you back because you have a lot to say, and we want to get into it more. God bless. Thank you.
Yes.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.